This afternoon I have Amos and Dalia Horn with me in the studio, and it's a great pleasure for me to talk to you. You have come to South Africa after your two brothers, Amos, were abducted on October the 7th in that surprise dawn attack of Hamas on Israel. Can you tell me where they were at the time?
Yair, his older brother, lives on Kibbutz Niroz, which is a community, a small community of 400 people. It's on the border with Gaza, from the Israeli side, of course. And Eitan, who lives in the center of Israel, who was visiting here for the holidays. So they were staying at their homes, I guess, sleeping with their pajamas when everything started.
Now, when did you first find out that they'd been abducted?
Actually, that day we tried to contact them and we messaged them and we got some answers for an hour. After 7:30 a.m. they stopped answering us, and we just didn't know what's going on for almost 6 weeks, I think.
Goodness me. Torment.
Yeah.
Absolutely torment. You had your suspicions, obviously.
I mean, we saw footage and videos from their cameras, the terrorists. They had GoPros and they broadcast everything live. So we saw how they were killing, murdering, burning, but we could not find any picture or anything of Yair and Eitan. So we thought they were taken hostage, as they did with many people, but actually we just didn't know.
So when did you actually find out that they are being held hostage?
On November 25th, it was during the first deal when Hamas agreed to liberate Israeli hostages, and Israel gave back terrorists and prisoners. Part of the women from the same community that came back, they told us that they are alive, that they are not injured, that they're there. It was the first time we felt like we could actually
big relief.
Breathe. Yeah.
And how long ago was that now?
It was on November 25th. We're in August.
So now we pray.
We pray, we advocate, we go around the world, we try to convince people to help us.
Which is why you're here in South Africa.
This is why we're here, even though it's hard to think that we need to ask for help to liberate 115 civilian normal people that were just taken all of a sudden without doing anything.
There's two groups involved in the hostage situation. Half of the people want the hostages to be freed, and the other half just want Israel to carry on bombing Gaza and get rid of Hamas. How do you feel about that?
Are you talking about two groups within the Israeli society?
Yeah.
I think the vast majority, actually, if we go according to the questionnaires they did around the society, like a big company in Israel, I think it was like 3 weeks ago. So 86% of the Israeli society wants to have the hostages back now, no matter what the price is, you know, because there's not a price for human lives. And then there's a group who wants to keep fighting the war, and I believe just because they and also we were sick of living under terror, you know. Those villages, those communities, those cities in the south. The attack did not start on October 7th. For the past 20 years, they're living under rockets and missiles and sirens, and the kids, they know when the red alert starts, they have 15 seconds to run to a safe place. So those people, I believe, it's not because they don't want the hostages back, it's just because they feel like we need
end Hamas.
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you feel about Netanyahu's stance on, I remember when him and Gallant had the first press conference, they said it's Amalek. If I got it right in the Bible, Amalek is when you kill everything of theirs. You don't spare anything. You wipe them out, and you can't have any sympathy, any pity, from children to the cattle to whatever. Everything must go. I got the feeling that the hand of God is very involved here from the Israeli side. That is the feeling that I get from Netanyahu and from Gallant, and that this war is not going to stop.
I mean, as families of the hostages and as Israeli citizens, we need the war to stop, because we want to live like you can live here, or other people can live freely all over the world. I think when Netanyahu and Gallant says and use the term Amalek, they did not mean that all Palestinians are Amalek. Maybe they meant that Hamas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, there's an idea of ending with this terror organization, which, by the way, you know, they're first attacking us in Israel because they can, and in a way Israel is kind of, you know, like the gatekeeper for the rest of the democratic countries out there. And we see all the time, especially in the past week and a half, all the terrorist attempts in Europe, and we saw how the Olympiada in Paris should, like, how they had all the security and all the alerts. And in Vienna last week they had to cancel a show. So yeah, it starts with Israel, but it's going out there. So how do we feel? I wish we could have ended with a terrorist organization, but to be very honest, I'm not sure you can kill an ideology, you know? So I think now is the time that Bibi Netanyahu and the Israeli government should sign a deal to release the hostages, and then we're going to need a lot of help, international help, governments coming and maybe sending their soldiers or helping us find a solution so we can
Is that something you would be looking at from South Africa, to send soldiers there and help?
I think the same way South Africa in the past has helped or had relationship with Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. So yeah, I would accept South Africa as well to be part of it, because if they actually want to help the Palestinians, because I think it's all about, of course, for us having our family back, but living freely and in peace. And we believe that the Palestinians should also have the rights. So I would expect South Africa and other strong governments to send people to help us, so they won't go back to terror, and they won't go back to using all the money they got from the world for tunnels and weapons and all these destructive things they're using against us. Yeah.
And how realistic do you think that ideology is?
Yeah, that's my wishful thinking. So unfortunately, if I look back, I have this place within my heart with hope, because we, the Jewish people, we always have hope. This is why our anthem is called Atikva, the hope. So I feel that maybe now that it has become so extreme, maybe now they'll do it because they also feel, you know, the danger in other countries. But unfortunately, his grandparents are Holocaust survivors. So we know that 85 years ago, Jews were being slaughtered, and the world just either looked and didn't do anything, or just looked to the other side. So I really hope, I pray, maybe this is why we're here, you know, to spread this voice, to ask you to help us in this message.
Tell me, are you here particularly to appeal to the government, or do you want to appeal to the people of South Africa? And if so, what would you say to the people of South Africa?
I think both. I think in order the South African government to do something, they should feel that it's an interest maybe of the people. And I want to say that this has nothing to do with politics. This is an humanitarian issue. My two brothers-in-law were taking barefoot from their beds, wearing pajamas. Hamas organization has a baby who's 1 year old and another toddler who's 4 years old. Those kids, the redhead, the Bivas family, Ariel and Kfir, they cannot be seen as enemies of a terror organization, right? So I believe this is a struggle between people who believe in the sanctity of life and terrorists who sanctify death. And this is why I believe it's so relevant to the people of South Africa and all the world, because we want to invest in life. We want to create life and bring light to this world. And we need to fight together against this darkness.
You talk about your brothers-in-law. Tell me a bit about them. I see they 35, 45 and 37. I mean, it's young.
Yeah.
As well, and they actually grew up in Argentina.
Yeah.
So they're dual citizens, they Israeli, Argentinian.
So all the Horn family is originally from Argentina, and they moved to Israel when they finished high school. So they are Argentinian citizens and Israelis. Yair just turned 46 on July 30th, and I don't even know if he knew it was his birthday down there in the tunnels, you know. Yair moved to this community near Oz more than 10 years ago. He's the handyman of the community, and he worked in the dining room, and he's in charge of the local pub, and he runs all the holidays, you know.
Lovely.
He's a
social person.
He's a social person. He loves bringing people together. He thinks of themes and ideas for parties and events all the time. And Eitan is 37. He's a non-formal educator. He works with kids. Actually, when the war in Ukraine started, so Israel brought many Ukrainian kids that wanted to escape the war and have a safe place in Israel. So he went to work with them on this campus. And I remember he called me and he said, I'm going to work with those Ukrainian kids. And I asked, how come you don't speak Ukrainian nor Russian? How are you going to do it? And he said, you know what, they're fleeing a war. I'm going to be there for them. Doesn't matter the language. So this is Eitan, huge heart, very funny.
There are other ways of communicating at that level. Yeah. Tell me, as far as actual doing something, is there anything in particular that are you looking for support? Are you looking for money? Are we looking to raise money to get them out, or is it just how does it work?
We're looking for support. We're looking for governments like the South African to use all the content, all the contacts, and all the things they do with the office of Hamas or with the Palestinian Authority, and to make pressure and even use or leverage all the things they do in common, or I believe that South Africa support maybe economically or has other ways of doing so, and use it in order to press and make pressure on Hamas so they can release the hostages, and this way bring an end to this conflict. But because this problem, and started on October 7th when they invaded Israeli territory. Israel was outside, the Israeli army was not in Gaza for many, many years. So actually, this is the way to end it.
Have you managed to see any of the leaders of South Africa on your trip now and actually speak to them directly?
We have a meeting with diplomats, I believe, from different countries.
Fantastic. You have been all over the world.
We went to many countries to advocate and ask and tell our story so people can help us. Yeah, we've been to the US, Washington, D.C., and Texas with big churches and communities. We've been to Spain. We spoke at the UN with the General Ambassador. We met many people all around, Argentina as well.
And what has the reception been in general?
I think in most of the places they support us and they understand that this is a humanitarian issue. It's not a political thing, and these are people, and as I said before, a baby, and elderly and women, and they support us and they understand the need to bring them home right away. And we also had some, I don't know, less nice conversations, like the General Secretary of the UN, because we know he was talking against Israel and he said horrible things like October 7th didn't happen as of nothing, and there's a context. And we're asking ourselves what kind of a context there is to kidnap people from their beds, you know? So we pretend the UN to stand with us, although we know that part of their workers, the UN workers in Gaza, were part of the invasion and part of the attack. And they took part and they killed Israelis and kidnapped their bodies. So it's very confusing, and it's very confusing for us because, you know, we're not diplomats.
No.
I work in education, he's in tour guide. We should not be doing it.
But there is nobody else to do it. If you don't do it, who is going to do it?
In a normal world, they would be back very few days afterwards because everyone...
And you've had no word for the last 8 months? No word? Nobody can tell you they're okay? You don't know?
No. Our government, the Israeli government, asked the UN to help us with the ICRC and the Red Cross. We made a list of medications because part of the people who are kept there in their tunnels are suffering. They're healed. They need. My two brothers-in-law, they take meds on a daily basis, right? So we tried to send those medications, and there was an agreement that the French government was involved. That if we're gonna send humanitarian aid and medications to the people of Gaza, so Hamas would agree to give the medications to the hostages. So Israel agreed, and humanitarian aid is going in and out all the time. Hundreds of trucks every day with medicines and food and everything, but we know that our hostages did not get those medications, and the Red Cross did not visit them as well.
Did they not visit them?
No, they didn't.
It's not a nice situation. It is. I feel for you. I don't quite know what to say. Is their mother still alive?
Yeah.
She must be beside herself.
Yeah, the mother and the father, they live in Israel, and imagine,
And
she's not sleeping.
And like you say, they're two of at least 115 people, and those were American tourists, all kinds of people. It's not just Israeli people. So
they also have Thai workers that were working on those communities, and they were
on
taking
the kibbutz.
Yeah, and they're not Jewish, they're not Israelis, they're Thai, and there's a Nepali worker who came a few weeks before to study and work in agriculture there, and they were also taken. Yeah,
it's crazy. If they've got a battle axe with Israel, why take foreigners?
This is why I believe, and I struggle to spread the word, that this is not about just Israel and Judaism. This is a humanitarian thing that we should all solve, because today it's his brothers, but tomorrow it can be, God forbid, you or someone here or in Europe, you know.
Well, I would like to say I wish you well in your endeavour to get backing and support. I hope and pray that the South African government will get involved, will at least put some pressure on Hamas, and that, well, those hostages can just be freed finally. I don't know how it's going to happen though, because Hamas doesn't seem to want to come to the table. So that's where the problem lies, where I understand that Benjamin Netanyahu says he's got no choice. I'm going to have to wipe them out first to get the hostages back. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, thank you for joining us, and all the best in your endeavour.
Thank you so much.